2,000 years ago, a single man known as the Demon King of Tyranny wiped out the human nations, spirits, and even the gods. After giving up his life to separate the world into four, he reincarnated into the magical age and began attending the Demon King Academy, only to be branded as a misfit. In the present, Delsgate Academy is a school solely established to train the next Demon King, who is said to be the reincarnation of the previous one. On the day of the entrance ceremony, a girl named Misha Necron is pushed by some royals, so she drops her letter. However, it is picked up by our main protagonist called Anos Voldigoad. As the two approach the gate, they come across a noble who angrily talks down on them as he's upset because they ignored him. But Anos reveals he wasn't acknowledged as his magic power was so weak they didn't even notice him, which further angers the noble, making him summon a flame to intimidate them. However, Anos extinguishes it just with his breath. He also uses an enchanted word to make him submit before leaving the scene. During the practical test, Anos is put up against Zepsu. This time he comes prepared, suited in magic armor that counters the effect of enchanted words. When it's time to fight, Zepsu proudly reveals his magic sword. Although he boasts of the sword's ability to increase his powers tenfold, when he attacks, Anos extinguishes his flames again with ease. Anos reveals the sword to be fake and decides to handicap himself as his opponent is clearly too weak. However, it only takes a quick beating to damage Zepsu badly. When Zepsu acts like a sore loser, Anos finally attacks him, but the weak attack kills him. He quickly resurrects him, as killing him would mean losing the test. He continues killing and resurrecting him over and over again until Zepsu admits defeat. After the test, Anos finds Misha waiting for him outside. He invites her to a feast at his house, to which she agrees. When they arrive at his house, Anos' mother, called Isabella, reveals that she is glad he passed despite being just a month old. Later, he sees her off, and on their way they are surrounded by a barrier made with creation magic. A man who calls himself Demon Lord Indu reveals he wants revenge on Anos for publicly humiliating his brother. When Zepsu boasts about his brother's strength, he is dealt with by Indu, who tells him their family has no use for weaklings. They then move to attack Anos, however he forces their magic circles go out of control, causing them to explode. A proud Indu decides to redeem himself by using forbidden magic to turn the tide of the battle. However, Anos is unaffected as he is the origin of the spell. Anos turns Zepsu into a raging zombie with more power than Indu, and suggests he accepts his brother's new form and join forces if he is to stand a chance. On the other hand, Indu is disgusted by what his brother has become, so he is attacked, though he tries to reach out at the last moment. In the explosion, everything begins to collapse, but Anos handles the situation simultaneously. After the chaos, it turns out he also managed to save the Indu brothers. We are then taken into the past, where we see Anos being confronted by the hero Canon. Here, Anos suggests a plan to stop the war between their races by giving up his life to activate a spell that would isolate each faction. Immediately after, Anos was killed, and his death amplified the spell that encompasses every part of the land. Back in school, Anos is tagged a misfit as he didn't pass the aptitude test. Later, the homeroom teacher called Amelia Rudwell suggests that the class should be divided into two teams. When it's time to volunteer for the group leader, Anos raises his hand, but Amelia reminds him that hybrid students who wear white are not eligible for this position. However, they come to a conclusion where his potential is to be tested. If he fails, he would have to drop out of the academy. For the test, he proves his potential by improving the Jaya's crest, which the teacher drew. Afterward, a girl named Sasha Necron also declares her intentions to the class. When it's Anos' turn, he introduces himself as Anos Voldigoad, the Demon King of Tyranny. Everyone joins Sasha's group, leaving Anos with Misha as his only team member. Sasha then goes to confront her sister Misha, who reveals that Misha is just a doll with neither a soul nor a will. She uses her demonic eye to make Anos submit, however it has no effect as Anos also possesses the same eye, but with more potency. After school, Sasha challenges Anos to a duel with the agreement that the loser has to do whatever the winner says. After a week, the two teams assemble for the exercise. When it begins, Anos appears in front of their castle alone. He moves to their castle wall and single-handedly penetrates their barrier, even lifting the castle using one arm. He begins spinning the castle before tossing it away like a small piece of rock. Although the group loses their will to fight, Sasha manages to motivate them, and together they cast a fire spell which they use to attack Anos. However, he casts a similar spell which cancels their attack and goes on to destroy their base completely. The following day in class, Sasha sits with Anos as a team member since she couldn't beat him. The teacher warns Anos to mind his manners as they are expecting one of the 7 elder demon emperors. When the demon emperor called Ivis Necron arrives, Anos calls him by his first name, but Ivis doesn't recognize him. He states that he lost his memories from 2,000 years ago and only has memories of his master. Anos then tries to jog his memory but is unsuccessful, so he drops the matter altogether. After class, Anos reveals that Ivis's entire past was completely altered, hence the demon king he remembers is Avos Dilhevia. Emilia reveals that the class's next exercise is to obtain magic tools from a dungeon, and points would be calculated based on the number of items obtained by each group. Inside, Anos shows his group a hidden passage which they pass through to head toward the lower level of the dungeon. They arrive at the altar where they find a mythical scepter, and as Sasha is intrigued by it, Anos uses the opportunity to show Misha to the treasure room where she is to pick a gift for Sasha's birthday. A cloak that is enchanted with anti-flame magic catches Misha's eye, so she chooses that. She also notices a nice ring, however she is too shy to accept it. After she hands Sasha the robe, Anos gives them time to change. When she comes out, he finds that Sasha has stabbed Misha. She reveals that she was putting on an act to claim first place in the exercise, but Anos doesn't buy her betrayal. However, she shows her seriousness by attempting to finish off Misha and make a run for it. Anos stops her in her tracks and reveals he had already healed Misha. They then have a contest of demonic eyes, but Anos easily overpowers her. Just then, Misha stops him from going further. She tries to tend to Sasha, but she runs away. Misha then reveals she is going to disappear on her birthday, as she never existed in the world in the first place. We then come to discover that Ivis Necron split Sasha's soul into two, thus creating Misha using magic. They manage to catch up with Sasha before she leaves the dungeon, so Anos asks her to make up with Misha. Instead, she challenges Anos to a duel, to which he confidently accepts. She spends her time constructing two magic circles while Anos waits, and when he takes control of the magic circle, Sasha reveals that she invented the spell to transfer her soul into Misha and make her the original. However, for the spell to work, Misha has to reject her, and this is the reason she has been treating her cruelly. She bids Misha farewell and activates the spell, but it doesn't work as Misha doesn't really hate her. After they make up, Anos reveals he is going to save them both by changing their past to make them separate demons. Before activating the spell, he is attacked from above by Ivis, who claims the girls are to become vessels for his master. Anos easily defeats him with the sword stuck in his heart and activates a spell, which transports them into a space where the god of time has come to stop them from tampering with the past. He then summons Ivis and grants him his powers to defeat Anos. As they fight, Ivis succeeds in killing Anos by stabbing him from behind. In his excitement, he reveals he never forgot that Anos is the Demon King. However, much to his surprise, Anos suddenly appears and reveals that killing him is not enough to make him die. Ivis is taken aback, so he stops time, but still, Anos isn't held in place like everyone else. As they battle, Anos showcases that even divine powers are no match for him. He begins rewinding time to the beginning, where Sasha successfully creates a new source with his help. Meanwhile, Anos gets serious and summons his demon sword of destruction. With the sword, he battles Ivis and defeats him within seconds. Afterward, Anos resurrects Ivis from the dead, but this time he recognizes Anos as his master and is completely loyal to him. Some days later, Anos is approached by a girl named Misa. She explains to him that their kingdom called Dilhade is ruled by pure-blooded royalty, so her organization, called the Unitarians, are campaigning towards a unification that would allow hybrids to also participate in the power structure. She convinces Anos to visit them by revealing they believe him to be the Demon Lord, and they have the support of a Demon Emperor. Later, she takes the group to a tower where there's a fan group created just for Anos. Inside, the group of girls begs Anos to let them join his team. He agrees, but on the condition that they show their resolve. Later, the class is made to pull out swords from the ground. However, only Anos and a transfer student are able to pull out swords. The instructors decide to spar with them, but they are both defeated easily by the students. Later, the student introduces himself as Legrand Story and asks to join Anos' team despite being a pure-blood royal. Anos refuses his request and asks that he teams up with Misa's group until the next competition. When the time comes for the competition, Misha builds an ice castle using her magic ring, while Anos plans to attack Lei. After teleporting to Lei's location, he notices he has lent his magic powers to enable Misa's group to fight. But still, Anos explains that their power gap is too much, so he picks up a stick to battle him. Meanwhile, Sasha faces off with Misa, who is wielding Lei's sword. When she gets in a bind, Misha arrives to assist her. Together, they use their family's fusion spell to combine their magic and create a powerful combination attack that defeats their enemies. Just then, there's a sudden shock wave and the mountains and waters are blown away as a result of Anos and Lei's battle. They continue to enjoy themselves in the heat of the battle while complementing each other's skills. Shortly after, Anos wins the battle with his stick. Some days later, Misa takes Anos to meet with Sir Melhaze, a demon emperor. When he sees him, he immediately recognizes Anos as his master. During an investigation, Anos and Misa stumble on Lei, who reveals his mother is being treated in the hospital. Inside, we see that his mother is on the brink of disappearing into nothingness. On the day of the tournament, the reigning champion is introduced into the arena. When Anos is announced, he doesn't come out. The royals then begin mocking him in unison, so Isabella bravely stands up for him. In the waiting room, Lei is hostile toward Anos, so they have a little altercation with both parties spilling blood. After he leaves, Anos reveals to Misa that Lei is being controlled by a collar that can kill him when certain conditions are met. In the evening, Anos pays Lei's mother a visit in the hospital. Here, she begs Anos to fight her son seriously as it is the only way to make him happy. Although this means that she'll have to die, she wholly accepts death in exchange for her son's happiness. Anos then decides to save her by creating a spell which utilizes Misa's source. Outside, Isabella along with the Unitarians are met by Emilia, who seems to be after Anos' sword. When they refuse to hand it over to her, she moves to kill them by casting a spell that blasts them all away. She is angry that Anos humiliated her brother, who is a pure-blooded royal, in public. When she attacks again, the girls continue to risk their lives to protect Isabella. She gets irritated by their tenacity, so she begins attacking them to death. Before she can finish everyone off, Anos arrives to stop her attack. He quickly casts a spell that heals all of them, and after that, he shows his gratitude for their actions. An angry Anos transports Emilia to the training ground where he begins to torture her. Although she begs for her life, Anos kills her without hesitation. He then resurrects her, but as a hybrid race she abhors so much. On the day of the final match, the referee places a ring on each fighter's arm. She reveals that the ring is set to kill off both Lei and his mother if Anos triumphs in the battle. As they fight, Anos can keep up with Lei despite being drained of his magic powers. The two fighters get serious, so their movements are too fast for the audience to follow. To climax the battle, the next exchange has Anos' left arm blown off while Lei is stabbed in the heart. They are then taken to an alternate dimension where Melhaze reveals himself as the mastermind of the operation. He also summons 2 additional demon emperors, so the battle becomes a 3-on-1 fight with Anos, who has an arm and a depleted magic power. The 2 emperors are suddenly knocked down by Lei, who has been freed from his contract. Pushed to a corner, Melhaze tries to use Lei's mother as a bargaining chip, but they are not fazed. Lei quickly distracts him and goes into the prison where she is being held captive. Melhaze continues to unleash different traps and attacks on them while Anos tries to counter them. Having lost too much magic power, Anos creates a magic sword for Lei. He uses it to battle the black fog but falls short. On the brink of death, Lei's mother transfers her powers into his sword, and with his newfound powers, he breaks himself out of the prison. At the same time, Anos confronts Melhaze alone, so Melhaze quickly uses a binding spell on him. Of course, Anos easily breaks free from it and in retaliation, summons his demon sword, which he uses to attack Melhaze. Anos reveals that the battle has made him regain his original powers, so no attack works on him anymore. Anos then breaks the device implanted in Melhaze and brings him back to his senses. Some weeks later, Emilia is replaced by a new teacher called Menu Historia. She announces that there is an upcoming Inter Academy class that is to be held in the Heroes School in a city called Asian located in the human realm. On the day of departure, Anos simply teleports his team into the human city. Later, Sasha tags along with Anos, who goes to investigate the Hero Academy. They are stopped at the gate by a girl called Alina Bianca, who explains that the academy is off limits to outsiders. However, her reception changes when she learns they are from Dilhade. She then gives them a tour by showing them different sections of the academy. While discussing some misconceptions about the Demon Lord, a reincarnation of the hero called Ledriano Canon interrupts them. He is accompanied by Laos Canon, who also claims to be a reincarnation. When Anos disputes their authenticity, Laos moves to attack him, but then all it takes is a blink of an eye to send him flying. After the incident, Bianca reveals to Anos that the hero Canon was murdered 2,000 years ago, so he shouldn't expect to be reunited with the same person. On the first day of the class, Diego Canon from the Hero Academy along with Historia presents a work table where each school's representative is called upon to demonstrate magic. Ledriano represents the Heroes Academy, so he demonstrates his magic. For the Demon King's Academy, Revest is called upon. When he begins, his spell doesn't activate, so he is mocked as he tries over and over again. Just then, Anos stands up to reveal that Ledriano cast a spell that seals demonic magic. When he cancels the spell, Revest's spell takes effect and transforms the specimens into monsters. Anos goes ahead to flex his strength by summoning a holy sword, which is a feat supposedly impossible for demons. The next day, everyone arrives at the beach to carry out the Inter Academy exams, where they are to showcase their respective forms of troop magic. As soon as they begin the exams in the underwater city, Revest's group is faced with some obstacles. His advanced group is also annihilated easily by the hero's class. Outside, Anos shows Historia that the humans rigged the river with holy water which is toxic to demons. Shortly after, the heroes advance to Revest's castle. Although they are prepared for them, their powerful spell does not affect the heroes. Their castle is then attacked and destroyed by the hero's class, while at the same time the broadcast signal outside is lost. Fearing for her students, Historia moves to intervene, but Anos steps in. He immediately rescues the third years out of the water, but then she notices they have a stigma that renders them unconscious. Since the stigma is caused by holy magic, her healing magic doesn't work. Anos goes to help but is rejected by Revest. He later accepts Anos out of respect for Historia, who is his mentor. Anos then goes to challenge the hero's class, who provokes him to cast a powerful magic that drains the entire river on their demand. For the second round of the exam, Anos takes on the offensive by sending an attack their way. When it hits their barrier, a girl shows up to cancel it out. Anos then invades their barrier along with Misha. Here, the girl shows up again, so she is introduced as the fourth reincarnation of the hero, King Anos. When they attack Misha, who is conjuring a castle, Anos moves to protect her. They use the chain to drain his magic powers, but this backfires as Anos feeds them excessive energy. With the castle completed, Sasha and Lei can freely fight in the barrier. Sasha and Laos face off in an intense battle where he goes all out. After a while, he starts bleeding as Sasha has poisoned him. With this advantage, she uses her demonic eye of destruction to defeat him. Meanwhile, Anos battles Zeshia and Ledriano simultaneously, but still manages to overpower them. They power up by feeding off the energies of the masses who are cheering them. With this boost, they begin to give Anos a hard time, but then Anos decides to mimic their trick by gathering magic powers from his fan group and team members. With this power, he overwhelms the hero team with his superior attacks. Just then, there's a voice that brainwashes everyone into hating the Demon King. This makes Zeshia activate a self-destruct spell that causes a massive explosion on Anos. However, he comes out unhurt. Again, Zeshia appears in front of him to activate the same spell. This time, Bianca reveals that the only way to stop Zeshia is by going to the shrine. Misha gets to the shrine and is attacked by Diego Canon. Although she blocks his spell, he opens a gate from which a holy light comes out. The light weakens Misha terribly, allowing Diego to stab her from behind. He goes on to stab her continuously until she is on the brink of death. Before he finishes her off, Anos arrives in time to stop him. Anos goes to interrogate him, but he isn't very cooperative. When he loses his mind, Anos attacks him by obtaining his magic source, which he destroys shortly after. Inside the shrine, they find out that Bianca isn't actually human but a magic source created by a forbidden spell. After she is freed, she explains that the hero class are all clones created by her to serve as warriors to annihilate the demons. She adds that the mastermind was a general named Jurga who died in the battle 2,000 years ago. She then shows Anos a memory where the hero is killed for moving against the general's plan. Their conversation is interrupted by Diego, who has revived himself, but before he can do anything, 3 demon emperors arrive at the scene. He decides to focus on them first but is quickly defeated yet again. The emperors are accompanied by a masked man who reveals himself to be Avos Dilhevia. After a brief exchange between the 2 demon kings, Avos and his comrades disappear from the scene. Outside, Diego announces the demon king's reincarnation and proclaims war on the demons. At the same time, Avos Dilhevia makes the same declaration in the demon realm. The next day, both armies move toward the battlefield. Meanwhile, Anos has commanded his team to try and hinder the fake Demon King's war attempt. When he gets to the demon army's base, he flexes his authentic powers at them, but still, they don't believe he is their real master. Avos and Anos then begin their battle in a field. Here, he finds out that Avos' real identity is the hero Canon. When he takes off his mask, the hero's real reincarnation turns out to be Lei. As they battle it out, Anos attacks without hesitation, so he begins to destroy Lei's magic sources one after the other. The 2 fighters continue to battle each other in an intense battle that takes them to the peak of their power. After a while, Anos destroys another source, so Lei is left with a single source. With that, they move to the climax of their battle, so Anos sends a fireball the size of a meteor toward Lei. He begins canceling the attack, but by the time he is done, Anos allows his sword to pierce him. Anos then wears the Demon King's mask so everyone witnesses Lei as the hero who slayed the Demon King. Below, Diego, who is still brainwashed by a spell, isn't satisfied with the outcome of the battle. Although Bianca tries to stop him, his hatred grows out of control so much that it summons the will of General Jurga into the world. To fight against the new enemy, Misha and Sasha fuse to transform into a single being. He then summons an army of Zeshias ready to self-destruct, so everyone tries hard to stop them from exploding. The numbers under Jurga's control are just too much, so the group can't handle them all. Before they explode, Anos shows up to render them inactive. With Anos' appearance, Jirga begins to drain his army of their magic powers. He uses the power to obtain a stronger form, Soleil steps in to assist Anos. Together, they begin to battle Jirga, but then Anos doesn't have enough magic powers to keep up with the battle. As a countermeasure, he commands the fan group to supply him with energy with their songs. With this new development, Anos turns the tide of the battle against Jirga by cutting him in half. He then summons his demon sword so he along with Lei annihilate every trace of him from the world, finally defeating him. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.